My favorite kind of dessert for a crowd is a Bundt cake. It's beautiful. It serves a lot of people, and there's no fancy, weird, fussy frosting. It just looks incredible all on its own. This lemon sour cream Bundt cake is exactly right. So I'm going to start by taking the zest off of one lemon with a peeler and actually put it in a blender with some of the granulated sugar that's going into the recipe and completely blitz it until it is absolutely smooth. All right, let's make this cake. So we're going to get butter into the mixing bowl. The butter has to be really, really soft, so definitely at room temperature. Add in that lemon sugar and the rest of the sugar from the recipe. And I'm going to put this on the electric mixer with the paddle. You can use a handheld electric mixer, you can use a wooden spoon, but you really want to make sure to mix the butter and the sugar together really, 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 really well. That is the absolute secret to a fluffy and moist cake. 3 eggs go in once the butter and sugar are fully creamed together, and then mix that around. I'm also going to add some vanilla at this point. Now I know this is a lemon cake, but vanilla, just makes everything taste better. Scrape down the sides and then let her rip. Make sure this is nice and fluffy and completely beautifully combined. All right, so now time for the dry ingredients. So I'm going to measure out some flour, and you can either do this using a digital scale or you can use the spoon and swoop method if you're using nesting measuring cups. But you do want to mix the flour with the other dry ingredients before adding them to the batter so that you get a nice even distribution of the other ingredients that are going in with the flour, namely the baking soda, the baking powder, and the salt. Once that dry mixture is incorporated, I'm also going to measure out the sour cream. Oh yeah, boy, this is going to be so rich and moist. The sour cream is so luxurious in this cake batter. Okay, I'm going to add the flour to that butter egg mixture, and that's all going to go in, and then just give it a few little pulses. You don't want the flour to go flying out of the bowl and all over your counter. And once it's kind of half mixed in, you can add the sour cream and then turn it on and mix it all around until it's beautifully combined. It's going to need a little tiny bit of lemon juice, so just take that same lemon that you removed the zest from and cut him in half. Give him a little juicerino, and then measure out some of that fresh lemon juice into the batter. Give it one last stir, and we are just about good to go. Scrape it all down off of the sides, off of the paddle. Make sure everything is looking good. Pour it into a Bundt pan. So now Bundt pans, notoriously sticky, so I really prefer to use Pam baking spray. That's the blue stuff. It's got a little bit of flour in it. Otherwise, you're going to want to grease and flour your Bundt pan. And then you can see how thick and lovely this batter is. So just kind of dollop it into that Bundt pan. And once it's all in there, you want to smooth it out a little bit. You don't have to be too particular about this. Just, kind of join the dollops all together. I always put my Bundt pan on a baking sheet just in case of spillovers. Hasn't happened yet, but it's always first time for everything. Cooks for quite a long time, almost an hour, and when it comes out of the oven, you want to cool it in the pan for a couple of minutes. First of all, of course, make sure that cake tester comes out clean. After it's cooled for a little bit, then you can flip it onto a rack and cool it for another 5 to 10 minutes. Make sure you're wearing your oven mitts. Sometimes I do this and I forget that the pan is still really hot. So, wear your oven mitts. Believe in yourself. Believe in the power of Pam. Yes, that is a clean extraction. Let's make a simple glaze, which is just a mixture of icing sugar and any liquid. You can use a bit of milk with vanilla in it. You can use some more fresh lemon juice. You could even use water in a pinch. Lemon juice will make it a lemony glaze and kind of amplify the lemon flavor. The milk and vanilla will accentuate the kind of creaminess of the cake. Stir it together. Do little by little, okay? Add the liquid little by little because you don't want this to be too runny. It has to have some texture. The cake is still warm. It's not piping hot, but it's still warm. This is important because you want the glaze to kind of cook when it gets onto the warm cake. And just use a spoon and spoon it all over this beautiful cake. Let it run down the sides. You can see it's on the rack. I've got the rack over the baking pan so that it'll catch all the little drips. And then let it cool completely and it will harden and get shiny. And this cake is so good. It's one of those cakes that looks really simple, kind of, maybe plain, but you cannot stop eating it slice after slice. Lemon sour cream bundt cake. It's going to be your go-to for all your parties this summer.